The midday sun beats down upon the African savanna with a relentless, punishing heat. The air itself seems to shimmer and warp above the dry earth. Standing amidst the golden, brittle grass is a giant of this ancient landscape, a rhinoceros. It is a creature of prehistoric proportions. Its skin is a thick, gray armor, folded and scarred by years of survival in an unforgiving realm. Every breath it takes is heavy, rhythmic, sending small clouds of dust swirling around its massive feet. But upon the vast, armored expanse of this beast's back, a much smaller drama is unfolding. A tiny shadow flits across the leathery skin. It is a red-billed oxpecker. With sharp, precise movements, the small bird lands effortlessly on the sheer vertical cliff of the rhino's flank. For generations, we have been told a simple story about these two creatures, a story of perfect harmony. The oxpecker is celebrated as the winged surgeon of the plains, a devoted custodian that spends its life meticulously cleansing the giants of the savanna. It is a beautiful narrative of mutual survival. The giant provides a mobile feeding ground, and the tiny bird provides salvation from a microscopic plague. But nature is rarely so innocent. Watch closely. The camera moves in, focusing on a raw, open wound near the rhino's shoulder. It is an injury earned in some brutal clash of titans, glistening under the harsh sunlight. The oxpecker hops toward the torn flesh. Its vibrant red beak, laterally compressed and shaped like a tiny chisel, is designed to pry deeply embedded parasites from thick hides. You expect it to pull a swollen tick from the edge of the injury. Instead, the bird lowers its head and strikes directly into the wet center of the wound. It does not extract a parasite. It takes a drop of fresh blood, and then another. The giant beast does not flinch. It does not try to shake the bird away. It stands perfectly still, surrendering its lifeblood to the creature we call an angel of mercy. This singular moment shatters the illusion of a purely benevolent partnership. It forces us to ask a profound and unsettling question. Are these birds truly the winged saviors of the giants, or are they cunning parasites wearing the mask of an angel? To understand this complex, slightly sinister alliance, we must look at the brutal reality of the world they inhabit. The African savanna is a place defined by extremes. It is an ecosystem where every drop of water, every blade of grass, and every ounce of energy is fought over with lethal intensity. And for the large herbivores that roam these plains, danger does not only come in the form of roaring lions or stealthy leopards. Some of the most devastating predators in this landscape are so small they can easily be overlooked. Hidden within the tall grasses, waiting on the tips of dry branches, is an invisible army. Ticks, fleas, and parasitic flies. They are relentless, and they are everywhere. A single Cape buffalo, wandering through the brush, can accumulate tens of thousands of ticks on its body. These parasites do not just cause irritation, they drain the host's blood. They transmit debilitating, often fatal diseases. They target the most vulnerable, unprotected areas of the giant mammals. The soft, dark caverns of the ears, the tender folds of skin beneath the legs, the delicate margins of the eyelids. Without an intervention, a heavily infested animal will slowly lose its strength, succumbing to severe anemia and exhaustion before finally falling victim to a larger predator. This is the desperate, silent war waged every single day on the savanna, and it is within this war that the red-billed oxpecker finds its vital purpose. They are highly specialized hunters of the microscopic world. Their entire anatomy is perfectly adapted for navigating the treacherous, moving landscapes of their enormous hosts. Their sharp, curved claws allow them to cling at impossible angles, defying gravity as they scale the towering neck of a giraffe or hang upside down beneath the belly of a zebra. Their stiff tail feathers act as a prop, much like a woodpecker clinging to a tree trunk, giving them stability on the shifting, breathing canvas of animal skin. They are tireless workers. From dawn until dusk, a single oxpecker can consume hundreds, sometimes thousands of engorged ticks and insect larvae. When we witness the sheer volume of parasites these birds remove, their value to the ecosystem becomes undeniable. They are a mobile immune system, a flying defense mechanism that keeps the great herds walking. When the oxpecker cleanses a rhino's ear, carefully picking out the engorged ticks that threaten to deafen the beast, it is performing an act of vital preservation. The relationship seems, once again, perfectly balanced. But the savanna is a land of shifting seasons and desperate times. When the rains fail and the dry season tightens its grip on the land, the rules of survival begin to change. The lush grasses wither, the herds grow thin, and the vast populations of ticks begin to dwindle. For the oxpecker, the abundant food supply it relies upon suddenly vanishes. Hunger sets in, and when hunger speaks in the wild, every creature must listen and adapt or perish. It is in these moments of scarcity that the bright, cheerful facade of the oxpecker falls away. The winged surgeon must find a new way to sustain itself. And the answer lies right beneath its feet. The giant host, which has provided sustenance for so long, becomes something entirely different in the eyes of a starving bird. Look closely at the wound on the rhinoceros. It is not healing. In fact, it has not healed for weeks. The edges of the torn flesh remain jagged and raw under the blinding glare of the midday sun. This is not a failure of the beast's immense immune system. It is a deliberate act of sabotage. When the tick populations crash during the brutal, unforgiving dry months, the oxpecker is faced with starvation. The vibrant green grasses have turned to brittle yellow ash, and the once abundant parasites have vanished into the cracked earth. Its survival instincts take over, shifting its role from cleaner to something far more sinister. The sharp, laterally compressed bill, once used as a delicate pair of tweezers, now becomes a ruthless scalpel. The bird deliberately pecks at the dark, hardened scab, tearing away the newly formed tissue. It keeps the wound open, raw, and bleeding. The host's blood, rich in proteins, minerals, and life-saving moisture, becomes the bird's primary source of sustenance. It will drink the dark red fluid, consume the dying skin cells, and even feed on the salty mucus pooling near the animal's heavy eyelids and flared nostrils. To human eyes, watching from a distance, this seems like a horrific betrayal of trust. We want nature to be divided neatly into heroes and villains. We want the oxpecker to be the pure, unblemished savior of the savanna, a tireless worker keeping the herds healthy. But the wild does not care about our fragile moral categories. It only cares about surviving until tomorrow. And for the oxpecker, hovering on the brink of starvation, an open wound is an oasis in a desert of death. But the mystery deepens profoundly when we look at the reactions of the giants themselves. Why do they tolerate this painful intrusion? A rhinoceros is a creature of immense, explosive power, capable of flipping a heavy vehicle with a single violent toss of its horned head. A Cape buffalo is notoriously aggressive, carrying a reputation as the widowmaker, known to ambush and trample adult lions into the dust. Yet, they stand completely placid, their massive muscles relaxed, while a tiny bird tears at their flesh and drinks their blood. They do not swat them away with their heavy, whip-like tails. They do not violently rub their massive bodies against the rough bark of a baobab tree to crush the feathered intruders. The answer to this riddle lies in the ancient, unspoken, and often ruthless mathematics of evolution. It is a gruesome but absolutely necessary calculation for survival. For the massive herbivore, weighing over a ton, a few drops of blood lost to a tiny bird is a minor, negligible annoyance. It is a biological tax they are instinctively willing to pay, because they know, embedded deep in their genetic memory, that when the seasonal rains inevitably return, the entire savanna will violently transform. The dry, cracked earth will explode with vibrant green shoots, and with the returning grass comes the terrifying resurgence of the invisible army. Millions of dormant ticks will awaken, climbing to the tips of the tall grass, hungry for warm blood. If the host had chased the oxpeckers away during the desperate dry season, it would have to face this overwhelming microscopic plague entirely alone. and a heavy, uncontrolled tick infestation is far more deadly than a small, bird-inflicted wound on the shoulder. The ticks do not just drain pints of blood over time, they carry devastating, silent pathogens. They bring deadly tick-borne fevers, diseases that can drain the vitality from the strongest bull and decimate entire herds in a matter of weeks. Therefore, the giant silently tolerates the vampire today so that it may have a dedicated surgeon tomorrow. It is a living, breathing insurance policy paid for with a daily ration of blood. This is the true, unfiltered, and deeply complex reality of mutualism in the wild. It is not a gentle fairy tale of friendship and cooperation. It is a gritty, highly pragmatic alliance forged in the relentless fires of necessity. The oxpecker is neither purely an angel of mercy nor entirely a demonic parasite. It is a brilliant opportunist, perfectly adapted to exploit every single available resource on the moving mountains it calls home. And its incredible adaptations go far beyond just feeding on blood and bugs. The bizarre bond between bird and beast penetrates into the very heart of the oxpecker's life cycle. As the breeding season approaches and the air grows heavy with the promise of rain, the female oxpecker faces a daunting challenge. She must build a secure nest, patiently incubate her fragile eggs, and raise her demanding young in an environment crawling with lethal predators. Most small birds rely on clever camouflage, hiding their delicate, beautifully woven nests deep within impenetrable thorny bushes. The oxpecker, however, chooses a completely different strategy. She seeks out a dark, narrow, and easily defensible hollow deep inside the trunk of a dead acacia tree. It is a wooden fortress, protecting her vulnerable chicks from the sharp, prying eyes of eagles and the silent, slithering reach of tree snakes. But a bare, splintered wooden hollow is too cold, too unforgiving for naked, newly hatched chicks. She desperately needs a lining, something remarkably soft and highly insulating to cradle the fragile future of her lineage. And once again, driven by millions of years of instinct, she turns to the terrifying giants of the plains. She does not spend her energy gathering soft, dry grass or delicate, sticky spiderwebs. Instead, she confidently lands on the back of a sleeping predator or a massive grazer. With precise, sharp tugs, she plucks the coarse, thick hair straight from the living bodies of her hosts. She steals wiry strands from the stiff mane of a zebra, pulls the coarse, dark coat of a slumbering buffalo, and snatches the stiff, bristly hairs of a warthog. She carefully carries these stolen, dangerous trophies back to the dark hollow, meticulously weaving them into a dense, incredibly warm cup. The nest slowly becomes a miniature, woven replica of the dangerous savanna itself. It is a cozy cradle built entirely from the discarded remnants of monsters. When the pale, speckled eggs finally hatch, the blind, naked, and utterly helpless chicks open their tiny beaks in the absolute darkness. They have never seen the blinding African sun. They have never seen the sprawling, dusty golden plains. And they have never seen the massive, dangerous beasts that unknowingly provided the very bed they sleep upon. But their undeniable connection to the giants of the savanna is already sealed. The tiny chicks are hungry, and their hunger is absolute. It is a demanding, relentless force that drives the adult oxpeckers to the brink of exhaustion. From the moment the sun breaches the horizon, painting the savanna in bruised hues of purple and gold, the parents are on the move. They explode from the dark hollow of the tree, launching themselves into the vast, dangerous airspace of the plains. Their destination is always the same. They seek the moving mountains of flesh, the buffalo, the rhinoceros, the giraffe. Finding a host is only the first challenge. Landing on a startled massive herbivore requires precision and absolute fearlessness. Once attached to the thick, dusty hide, the frantic work begins. The adult bird scours the terrain of the beast. It moves like a seasoned mountaineer, navigating the deep valleys of skin folds and the steep ridges of muscle. Every tick pried from the tough skin, every engorged parasite plucked from the edge of an ear, is not swallowed by the parent. It is carefully held in that sharp red beak, and when the beak is full, the bird races back to the tree hollow. Inside the dark chamber, the arrival of the parent triggers a frantic chorus of high-pitched begging. The blind, naked chicks stretch their weak, wobbly necks upward, their mouths open wide like cavernous, desperate traps. The parent drops the bloody harvest into those waiting mouths. This is the brutal, beautiful reality of their growth. These fragile, delicate birds are being built, cell by cell, bone by bone, from the blood of the savanna's most fearsome beasts. Every feather that sprouts on their tiny bodies is fueled by the parasites that once drained the giants, and when times are tough, when the ticks are scarce during the bitter dry season, the parents will bring back something else. They will bring back the fresh, raw blood and tissue scavenged from the open wounds of the hosts. The chicks do not know the difference. They only know the warmth of the nest and the metallic, rich taste of survival. Weeks pass, and the rhythm of the savanna begins to change. The chicks grow stronger, their downy fuzz replaced by sleek, tight feathers. Their eyes open, taking in the dim light that filters through the entrance of their wooden fortress. They begin to crowd the narrow opening, peering out into a world that is impossibly bright and terrifyingly loud. They hear the distant, thunderous roar of lions. They feel the ground vibrate beneath the tree as a herd of elephants passes by, and they see, for the very first time, the massive, dusty shapes of the giants their parents have visited every single day. The day of departure is not announced. It arrives quietly, driven by an instinct older than the trees themselves. One by one, the young birds step onto the edge of the hollow. They hesitate for a fleeting second, feeling the harsh, hot wind of the plains against their new feathers. And then, they leap. They do not fall, they fly. Their first flight is clumsy, frantic, a desperate scramble for elevation. But their target is clear. They do not aim for the branches of a distant tree. They aim for the broad, armored back of a grazing rhinoceros. When their sharp claws finally grip the tough, leathery skin, a cycle is completed. They have left the nest of stolen hair, only to return to the very source of their existence. They are now the winged surgeons, the opportunistic vampires, the keepers of the bloody contract. As we watch the red-billed oxpecker ride atop its giant companion, fading into the golden dust of the dying sun, we are left with a profound realization. Nature is not a simple fairy tale. It is not easily divided into the pure and the wicked, the healer and the parasite. It is a vastly complex, deeply pragmatic system where every creature must find a way to survive. The oxpecker and the giant are bound together by necessity, by blood, and by the relentless, unforgiving rules of the African savanna. They are a perfect reflection of the wild itself, beautiful, ruthless, and forever intertwined in the delicate, dangerous dance of life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about this strange and brutal alliance.